The topic for this session is the other world. The other world, or the great beyond, is commonly said. Human life on earth is composed of a cradle or a center and a periphery. So when people say the other world or the great beyond, it simply means that the person saying the other world or the great beyond is not properly composed, not harmonized, it's not harmonious in his way of looking at human life on earth. It means that the person making that statement is not does not know himself, does not know herself. Because if a human being knows who he is or she is, he ceases to say the other world and the great beyond. And instead, he says the cradle, the root of human life on earth, and the periphery. In other words, the man who knows himself is already a master, is already a driver, is already in the light, is already illuminated. He knows how and what human life on earth is. So he ceases to say the other world, because the other world is where you came from. The other world, or the great beyond, is where I came from. This is where each human being came from. And that is also where every human must return to. So the place where you came from is where you are going back to. So you can't call where you came from the other world. You can't call where you came from the great beyond, because that is part and parcel of your existence, even in the now. So when you say the great beyond, you are only saying, I don't know, I'm ignorant. That's what it means. Because if you know, you cannot say so. You cannot be saying the great beyond as if it is different from here. It only means that man has fallen from the root into the periphery, from the cradle into the periphery. The fall occurs around the age of 4. When a person is 4 years, you are already moving away from the base, from the cradle, which is also the end. And as you move away from the cradle, or from the root, or from the source, the awareness is not there. And because the awareness is lacking, the person now goes up, passes through from 3 years to 4 years, and then you just move on 5 years, 6 years, and then you move away from the base, and then you refer to that base as the other world. We need to talk about it because there's a change already from the human heart state, which is the base, to the human mind state, which is away from the cradle. So that's what I intend to explain in this session, because you must not call the aspect of you that is the beginning and that's also the end. You cannot call it the other world. You cannot call it heaven. You cannot call it Eden, because it is the base on which you stand. Even as you are talking, the base of your life is the cradle, is the other world, is the great beyond, is the super universe above. But because you have gone away from integration, from you know unification, because unification is what determines the base, is what determines where you come from and where you also go back to. Because the base, that integration and integration, as Albert Einstein was talking about it in his work, he was talking about integration and unification. But he didn't know that he had already lost the base. Like every human who is talking, who is a scientist today, who is a philosopher, who is a theologian, you are talking about the other world, the end of the world, and then you go back to the other world. That word, other world you're talking about, is the base on which you stand. But because you are unconscious of it, you are ignorant of it, you now assume that that's the other world. Now this one is the one you are living in. But the one you are living in right now is controlled by memory and imagination. It's controlled by past and future, no longer by the base, no longer by the core, which is the spirit, which is nature, which is divinity. So that's why people speak that way in confusion. When people talk as philosophers, when they speak as theologians, you see the error that they are committing, because they are talking from theology, from theological point of view, which is the past, which is pastology, and from the philosophical point of view, which is the future, which is futurology. So this is what they talk about, but they forget that they are already away from the base, from where they came from. and where they would return to. They have already lost that, which is the present and the moment, what I call presentology and momentology. So this is how human life on earth must be seen. This is how human life on earth must be viewed, for you to have balance, for you to have a base, for you to be structured. Because the thing you call God is part and parcel of your life. It is the base you sit on, you stand on. God is spirit, and spirit is God. That aspect of human life on earth is the core. That's where you came from, and that's where you will also return. But when people talk about the other world, where they say God lives, the other world where they say spirit lives, that is wrong. Because ancient Egypt and ancient Africa that originated this thing, that are the cradle of this thing, did not speak of it that way. Ancient Egypt spoke of Maat, M-A-A-T, and Isfet. Maat being the heartway, or the human heart aspect of human life on earth, and Isfet being the human mind aspect of human life on earth. So ancient Egypt and ancient Africa that originated these things over 5,000 years ago knew that how this is were. But today, people don't know it. People are just speaking and making whatever. But if you know it very well, as you're watching, as you're observing them speak, as you're watching them, you see that there's confusion in them. There is darkness and blindness. They don't know. There is ignorance and delusion. And this is how people who are leaders today are leading. And you can see it in the world. People are talking about religion and whatever, but if you look at the country they come from, so the country has wasted. The country is grounded, is wasted. The country is getting ruined. But the person speaking does not even know that the country he is in is lost, is completely destroyed by the human beings in that country who are speaking from the point of view of other foreign culture. They don't even know that they are ruining their country and they have lost the base. They don't know where they're going. They don't know where they came from. Most people, a lot of people in this country, in Africa today, don't know where they came from. They don't know where they are going. They just want to talk and speak and talk about the popular things which are really misleading. That is the point. So the other world and the great beyond and heaven and Eden mean the same thing. That is the home of spirit. That is the home of God. That is the base where you came from. That is the base where you must return. So unfortunately, when you don't know this is very well, you just live life, recklessly. And when you go back to the base, when you realize the base is already late, and you're full of regret, and you have so much suffering, so much problem awaiting you because you didn't know your base when you were here. You didn't know where you came from, and you didn't know where you're going when you were on earth. And that's the reason why these things must be properly addressed. At the end of Time and Space, 2012, the new era of the super universe above, which people commonly call the other one and the great beyond, is the base. These are the base. This is the place where you must stand. This is how you must get harmony. This is how you must get integration. This is how you must get unification. This is the base. This is how we must go. This is how every human must be in the new era. I thank you very much for listening.